I just said, I'm not the dad. By July, I was done. I told her, if you're not going to follow the agreement, neither am I. And so I quit paying her. I asked her if I could keep the baby. She said, once you pay, then we can discuss. I told Hadley I wasn't paying her, and we got into it. She's like, you have everything you need to take her back to court. If I stop paying, all the judge is going to hear is that I stopped paying child support.
For those who don't know, if you haven't seen the first part of this story, you have to go watch the first part of this story and the second part of the story. This is the third part of the story, and basically what happened is this guy, when he was 24 years old, he met a woman that was in her 30s. During a one-night stand, she said she just wanted a baby, so he gave her his baby batter, essentially, and she ended up getting pregnant. Turns out later on, after he signed the birth certificate, so legally he's the father, but it turns out paternally he found out that he wasn't the father. He took 2 paternity tests to prove that he wasn't, and he's been fighting it in court. But since then, he's been giving her about $750 a month, and he's allowed her, she's gotten about $55,000 in total out of this guy, and he allowed her to stay inside of an Airbnb that he owns for 2 years straight. So basically, false paternity from some crazy lady in her 30s. He made a mistake when he was 24. He acknowledged the mistake. It's a big deal. Now he's off to another relationship with a woman that he loves, and he wants to get this in the past, but it's just been following him ever since then. He pulls out this huge binder with just evidence and evidence and evidence and proof that justifies him, or that says that he isn't the father, and legally he shouldn't be liable. But since he signed that birth certificate, y'all know how hard that is to fight in court. So that's what he's been dealing with. You guys gotta go. I'll leave a link in the pinned comments and in the description down below to part 1. You guys gotta hear this story. It's very interesting. It demonstrates how easy it is for a crazy woman to be able to dig her hooks into a man and the court system, and use the court system as leverage to extort the man via the child. So I think it's a really good example of that. So you guys go watch the first part 1 and part 2. This is part 3.
I was saying, but I was at my breaking point. And then I hear from my mom. Now she's telling my parents that they can't even see the baby anymore because I refuse to care for her. Which, to Maria, that just means I'm not paying her enough.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that she always does. When she can't control me, she goes to my parents because she knows that works. I caved after 6 days and paid her. Just like that, I was allowed to see the baby again. Had they brought up DNA test, and me thinking court was imminent, I thought it was a good idea to go ahead and order it. So that weekend when I had the baby, I decided to do it. So me and Hadley are just laying on the couch, laughing about something, and that's when I get a notification. It's an email from Paternity Lab. After I open this email, I read it, and I think I'm reading it wrong, but I scan it 3 times, and I see 0%. I look at Hadley and I say, I'm not the dad. And I just drop my phone. And she picks it up and she says, you're reading it wrong. She starts scanning it, and zooming in, and I'm over here just with my hands over my head. She looked at me and she said, you're not the dad. And it just felt unreal. I felt shock. And that's when I immediately called my mom. Whenever she answered, I just said, I'm not the dad. She didn't know us taking the test. It was a complete shock to her. She yelled at me. She said that that's not real. There's no way. At one point, she was like, there's no way. Y'all have the same eyelashes. Y'all have the same toes. And
Wow.
I said, Mama, everybody has eyelashes. I just looked at everything.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I've told this story in part 2 of this about one of my buddies that dealt with the same situation. I'm not going to go through the whole story again. But when he found out, he said that it was also bittersweet because he grew an attachment to the baby. He had been taking care of the baby for so long and making so many sacrifices to take care of the baby that he thought was his, that by the time he found out that it wasn't obviously as sweet, because he's like, I don't have to do these responsibilities at 15 years old anymore, going to work, going to school, taking care of the baby, all these different things at once. I don't have to do that. So it's a relief. But at the same time, you've grown a connection to this baby. Right? Like, and it's a very strong connection for guys who have children. You know what I'm talking about. And when you look at the baby, you grow that connection. Even though you realize you're not the father, it's so much it's so much deeper than just being free from making a payment. You know what I'm saying? He's made so many sacrifices. He's been doing this for about 3 years now, according to the story. So I understand how, man, it would take an emotional toll on you. It's like a bittersweet. That's how and he's one of my best buddies. That's how he explained it to me. It was a bittersweet.
That's not my kid. So after a week, there's this incredibly weird, silence. I feel this pressure on me to, make a decision, and I'm trying to tell everybody what else to do, and I don't even know what to do myself. And one night, Hadley comes up to me and she says that, hey, babe, we can just pretend none of this happened. Whatever you want to do, I support you 100%. And after thinking on that, it was definitely an option. No one else knows. We could just go on, continue with our regular lives. I wasn't thinking about Maria and how she treated me at this point. It was just me thinking about my relationship with my daughter.
Exactly.
I think 2 days went by, and all I could think about during those 2 days was how unfair it was that the real dad had been robbed of all this time with her, all those special moments that I spent with her. That is something that he never got to have. I felt like I was taking that if I was to not tell the truth. So at this point, I still haven't made a decision. My parents still don't believe it at all.
And because of all this emotional turmoil, even though she caused all this emotional turmoil, that woman will never be responsible for anything. And there are people that are going to say, oh, you could go and there's paternity fraud. You could go and get back pay for all the child support. I'm telling you right now, and you can look up the statistics on this stuff, you hardly ever are going to get that as a man. Paternity fraud is easy to prove, but hardly ever is the court actually going to move on it just because the woman is the primary caregiver. At this point, there is no man in the picture that's going to take care of the baby because we don't know who that is biologically. And when it comes to these paternity situations, paternity fraud situations, since we don't know who the dad is, if you lock the mom up, now you have to think about the kid being alone. So oftentimes you hardly even see that enforced. So by and large, this woman who's caused all this chaos has robbed the original father or the biological father from the opportunity to know their kid, has robbed the kid of the opportunity of bonding with the biological father. All these different things that's just come from her bad decisions, and also his too. Don't get me wrong, but she was sleeping around when she was doing this, and she knew she was in the wrong. She knew he wasn't the biological father if you go watch part 1, part 2, but she was trying to pin it on him. So it was a conscious decision on her behalf, and there will be no punishment for the female part in played in these paternity issues. There's never any female responsibility or accountability, and I think that that's criminal because the man is damn near held to the sword, where even if you can't pay your child support, you will go to jail and be stripped away from your family or the child in general just because you can't pay. So, yeah, I just think that it's criminal that these women can go out and just do all this stuff and cause this amount of chaos, and there's absolutely no punishment for it. I think that's insane.
I decided to do another DNA test, and I wanted to see the baby and see how I still felt whenever I held her. So everything was fine at first. She was calling me Dada, and just every time she would call me Dada, it just started to eat at me. At one point, I just started uncontrollably crying, and I had to call my mom to come get her. I couldn't do the test that day. So her mom comes and picks her up, and Hadley being Hadley, she calms me down. And the next morning, I know that I still need to do the test. So my mom brings the baby back down, and that's when we did the second test. I knew exactly how the results would be, and I knew this would be the last time I see her. And that was the single most worst day of my life.
Sad.
And as I'm trying to grieve this, I still have to keep quiet. I'm trying to talk to attorneys. I'm trying to keep my cool. And I still have Maria harassing me and abusing me through messages when I know at this point that it's not my kid. I started telling friends and family, and everybody's in shock.
The probability of paternity is 0%. Bro!
Isn't that the most insane thing you've ever seen in your life?
I hired a lawyer, and he said, do not contact Maria again until she's served. For the first few weeks, I was just sad, and then there was this moment. Hadley and I were just sitting there, and she kind of mumbled under her breath, I can't believe she called me a whore. And both of us just started dying laughing. This was the first moment where I was like, what the did I just go through? And then small town people start talking, and I start getting messages like this. I guess all of her friends always knew who the real baby daddy was, but no one bothered to tell me.
Wow.
And I was pissed. I started looking at this tattoo every day. And she would post this tattoo on her Facebook, and now knowing that her friends knew, I start wondering, were they laughing at me the whole time?
Yeah,
I started to hate looking at my own arm, and I didn't want the tattoo anymore. It had nothing to do with the baby. It had everything to do with Maria. Hadley suggested that I either get it covered or removed. After some thought, I thought a line through it would symbolize moving on from the abuse, but not forgetting the child that I love. In October, Maria gets served the lawsuit, but not before I heard the process server say this.
Get her.
I've been down this road with her before. Yeah, who was the guy? He did some kind of swimming pool building or something that she was fooling around with.
Apparently she's been in lawsuits with men before. I had no idea. After she was served, I gave her plenty of time because I asked Hadley how she would react if her kid's dad served her with paperwork showing DNA results that he wasn't the dad. And Hadley said, I would immediately call him and tell him to get his down here and do another DNA test in front of me because I know they're his kids. But what does Maria do? For the first time ever, she's quiet. So I post my video to my 100 followers.
We got her, boys. We got her, boys. Yeah. We got her.
First, only to clear my name. I don't mention Hadley's name at all, and I keep the baby's identity hidden. Then the messages start rolling in. Shortly after, I'm served with a restraining order and they're demanding I take down all my posts. And that's when they take the opportunity to start twisting the narrative online. And while I'm silent,
isn't that interesting? She was able to still go get a restraining order, even though he has DNA proof that he isn't the father, and he still has to take his post down that clear his name, because that's all he's trying to do. He's not shaming her. He's not attacking her. He's just trying to clear his name because she's been able to go online and say whatever she wanted about him, and he had to keep quiet because he knew he was working on this case, right? So even afterwards, the court will still be so biased towards the women and use the court as an enforcement arm for the women to abuse the men, so much so that even after he can prove by DNA testing that he's not the 0% the father, 0% chance he's the father, he's still the one that has to take his post down that tries to clear his name.
Months, I start unraveling the truth about everyone in Maria's web of lies. First up on the list is Miss Vietnam.
There she is. Miss
I don't even think y'all motherfucking ready.
We thought Amanda was just Maria's best friend, but then she tries to ruin our lives. Turns out, she's been protecting a secret that she knew from the very beginning. It started whenever Amanda posted that Hadley lost custody of her kids. Completely false. And instead of fact-checking, she tags Hadley publicly like she's proud of it. Hadley responds kindly and just tells her the truth. Amanda lost it. That's when she started going off in the DMs. Hadley just doesn't respond. And then it gets worse. She starts posting our address online and threatening Hadley. She started sending Hadley her own address and threatening her to show up. And then she actually shows up to a gas station and tries to fight us.
What did we do?
And just when we thought it couldn't get any worse, that's when someone called their business.
Can we interest you in a fishing charter?
Let me say it again, tough guy.
Hey,
No,
say it again. Where you at, man? Why don't you come find me, bro?
No, you
called you.
Say it again. I know. Say it again. I just want to be clear. Say it again. So what did you call me again?
I called you what you know you are.
No.
Fucking porch.
Oh wow. And what else?
Yeah,
and what else?
Where you at?
This is who we're dealing with. And it wasn't just Amanda and Hadley's DMs. It was her husband Julian and mine too. Threatening to fight me over a baby that wasn't even mine. She told Hadley that she was going to call the nursing board. She said that she was absolutely coming for her livelihood, and then bragged about making a TikTok just to expose Hadley's personal information.
All of this for what? For one woman to avoid accountability for bad decisions that she was making? Obviously, he made a bad decision too, but his saving grace is the fact that he isn't the father, so he can alleviate himself of some of the responsibility, even though he had a lot of consequences involved, of course. But all of this is just because one woman doesn't want to be accountable for sleeping around town and begging men randomly to have children with her. It's very interesting.
Hadley made one video, not to call anyone out, just to clear her name.
I'm ready to address this search bar that's been on all my videos. I did not lose custody of any of my kids, and none of them have a disability.
Then Maria says this and sends Hadley a cease and desist, just for defending herself. She never said Amanda's name, not once. But Amanda told her, I'm not going to stop, period, take the video down. At this point, we stopped seeing Amanda and Julian just as Maria's loyal friends, because it really didn't make sense anymore. Why were they this personally invested? Because we had the court-ordered DNA test back at this time. So why were they still going so hard over a lie? And just like we did with Maria's cousin Michelle, we went full FBI mode. We got quite the laugh out of these. And then we found this one. And that's when we realized that Julian and the guy that everybody's telling us is Maria's real baby daddy, they weren't just friends, they were business partners. We realized that when Maria got pregnant, that man was married with a baby at home, and in Mississippi, if your spouse can prove infidelity, they can take everything. The house, the kids, and the business. So if that ever came out, it wouldn't just be that guy's life falling apart.
It would also be Julian and Amanda's too.
Oh.
So that's why they came after us.
Not
because we lied, because they always knew the truth. They weren't just defending a lie, they helped build it. And they've been trying to protect it ever since. And the deeper we dug, the more we realized this isn't even the whole story.
Wow.
Not even close.
Yeah, so there you go, guys. I'm assuming he got more updates, but this story is absolutely insane. And all of this because one woman doesn't want to be accountable for her decisions, and they're trying to protect a married man from losing everything that he owns while trying to also take away everything that this guy owns. So I find that very interesting that they're trying to protect this guy. But I guess it's because they're business partners, so they're working in cahoots with them. It would be a shame if this video went viral and got 1.4 million likes. Not views, 1.4 million likes. And this man got exposed, and then his wife took him to court and took away everything that he owns, including his business, because he's been committing infidelity in Mississippi. It would be a shame if he actually had to be responsible and accountable for his daughter's life, which he should be. I do want to tell you guys, I'm going to keep you guys updated on the story, so there will be a part 4. Apparently, he has more to say. Let me know in the comments below if this video was a W or L, and give me the HBO special. That's a Help Brother Out special. Hit the like and the subscribe button for more content. Also, become a member of the Patreon. If you support the channel, I'll leave a link in the pinned comments and in the description down below. Till next time.